Did you know that Judy Garland, one of the brightest stars of Hollywood's golden age, left behind an estate worth less than $5,000 despite earning millions during her legendary career? From Buster Keaton's fall from silent cinema royalty to Jean Harlow's untimely death at the height of her fame, here are 25 golden age actors who died in poverty or rags. 1. Judy Garland. Born as Frances Ethel Gum in the early 1920s, Judy Garland became a beacon of the golden age of Hollywood. She enchanted audiences worldwide with her unforgettable role as Dorothy Gale in The Wizard of Oz and her wistful rendition of Over the Rainbow. But beneath the shimmering spotlight lay a life consumed by hardship. Pushed into the relentless world of entertainment as a child by her parents, Garland endured a grueling schedule designed to churn out profits, not nurture her well-being. Studio executives controlled every aspect of her life, from her diet to her energy levels, relying on a dangerous cocktail of stimulants and sedatives to keep her productive. Throughout the 40s and 50s, Garland's career soared with masterpieces like Meet Me in St. Louis and A Star is Born, for which she earned an Oscar nomination. Yet her fame came with a steep price. Mounting debts, extravagant spending, and poor financial decisions trapped her in a cycle of desperation. Haunted by addiction and mental health struggles, she often performed exhausting tours just to stave off financial ruin. By the time her life ended tragically in the late 1960s from a barbiturate overdose, Garland had earned millions, but left behind an estate worth less than $5,000. 2. Buster Keaton. Revered as the Great Stone Face, Buster Keaton carved a legacy as one of silent cinema's most daring pioneers. Born in the late 1890s, he was thrust into show business as a child, perfecting physical comedy in his family's vaudeville act. His silent films, like The General and Sherlock Jr., remain celebrated for their innovation, humor, and breathtaking stunts. With his stoic expression and inventive genius, Keaton seemed unstoppable. But the advent of talkies in the 1920s unraveled his momentum. Signing with a major studio cost him the creative freedom that defined his earlier work. Studio executives confined him to formulaic films, stifling his artistry and driving him into obscurity. Personal misfortune compounded his professional struggles. A bitter divorce drained his finances, and alcoholism consumed much of his life, leaving him adrift. Though Keaton experienced a revival in the 1950s and 60s as audiences rediscovered his silent classics, the recognition came too late. His final years were spent in modest comfort, a far cry from the heights of his fame. How does a pioneer of comedy fade so quietly into the background, remembered only long after the curtain falls? 3. Jean Harlow, the dazzling blonde bombshell of 1930s. Hollywood, Jean Harlow captivated the world with her radiant beauty and magnetic screen presence. Born in 1911 as Harleyan Carpenter, she shot to fame with roles in Hell's Angels and Platinum Blonde. Her platinum hair and bold confidence redefined the image of the modern woman during the Depression era, securing her status as one of the industry's top stars. Yet Harlow's personal life was marked by sorrow and scandal. Her marriages were short-lived, and the mysterious death of her second husband, Paul Byrne, cast a dark shadow over her career. Despite the whispers and gossip, Harlow continued to shine on screen, starring in classics like Dinner at 8. But behind the glamour, her life was unraveling. Poor financial decisions and manipulative figures in her life ensured that her wealth was fleeting. Harlow's untimely death in the late 1930s from kidney failure shocked Hollywood. At only 26, she left behind a legacy of unforgettable performances and an indelible mark on cinema. Her story is a poignant reminder of how fleeting both fame and fortune can be, even for the brightest stars. 4. Bela Lugosi. The enigmatic Hungarian actor born in the 1880s, Bela Lugosi, etched his name into cinematic history with his haunting portrayal of Count Dracula. His piercing gaze and thick accent brought an otherworldly charm to the role, immortalizing him as one of horror's greatest icons. But success proved fleeting for Lugosi. As the horror craze dwindled in the late 1930s, he became typecast, his rich talent confined to villainous roles. By the 1940s, he was relegated to low-budget productions far removed from his former glory. His struggle with morphine addiction, initially a remedy for chronic pain, only deepened his hardships. Financial ruin loomed over him, and the once celebrated star found himself performing in forgotten films to make ends meet. In his final years, Lugosi collaborated with eccentric filmmaker Ed Wood on projects that bordered on parody, a far cry from his Dracula days. When he passed away in the mid-1950s, Lugosi was buried in his iconic cape, a haunting reminder of the character that both made and unmade him. How does a man who brought nightmares to life end his own days in obscurity? 5. Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. A name once synonymous with laughter, Roscoe Arbuckle became a symbol of shattered dreams. Born in the dusty plains of Kansas in 1887, he rose to prominence as one of Hollywood's first million-dollar stars. His frame was large, but his comedic agility defied expectations, carving a path for slapstick comedy alongside luminaries like Buster Keaton. Behind the camera and on screen, Arbuckle's influence was undeniable. Yet fame turned to infamy in 1921. A party, a scandal, and the death of actress Virginia Rapp unraveled his empire. Though acquitted of manslaughter after grueling trials, public scorn was merciless. His name was smeared across headlines, his career left in tatters. Forced to direct films under an alias, Arbuckle became a shadow of his former self. Just as he glimpsed redemption in the early 1930s, a fatal heart attack stole him at 46. Arbuckle's fall stands as a chilling testament to the power of scandal to eclipse even the brightest stars. 6. Dorothy Dandridge. Shattering ceilings but bearing the weight of Hollywood's systemic prejudice, Dorothy Dandridge was born in Cleveland in 1922. She began her journey as a singing prodigy, captivating audiences on vaudeville stages with her sister. Her performance in Carmen Jones in 1954 marked a historic moment, the first black actress nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress. Yet her triumph was bittersweet. Hollywood's doors were barely ajar for Dandridge. Cast into roles that perpetuated harmful stereotypes, she was denied the range afforded to her white peers. Frustrated and constrained, she turned to nightclub performances to make a living. The glamour of her early career faded, replaced by financial instability and personal heartbreak. Bankruptcy loomed, fueled by legal strife and mismanagement. Struggling with depression, Dandridge's light was extinguished in 1965 at 42, leaving behind only a handful of dollars and a legacy too often overlooked. 7. Lana Turner. An emblem of Hollywood's golden age, Lana Turner radiated glamour and allure. Born in Idaho in 1921, she was discovered as a teenager and swiftly ascended to stardom. Her performances in classics like The Postman, Always Rings Twice, and Imitation of Life defined an era. She was the sweater girl, a style icon whose beauty was matched by her talent. Off-screen, Turner's life was marred by scandal and sorrow. 8 marriages painted a picture of longing and turbulence. The shocking 1958 incident involving her daughter, Cheryl Crane, who fatally stabbed Turner's controlling boyfriend in self-defense, cast a long shadow over her career. As her fame waned, financial troubles mounted. Selling personal items and retreating to a modest lifestyle, Turner's final years were far from the opulence she once knew. She succumbed to throat cancer in 1995, her life a poignant juxtaposition of dazzling triumphs and quiet struggles. 8. Errol Flynn. The swashbuckling rogue of Hollywood's heyday, Errol Flynn captivated audiences in films like The Adventures of Robin Hood and Captain Blood. Born in Tasmania in 1909, Flynn embodied the archetypal hero, charismatic, athletic, and daring. On screen, he leapt across castles and swung from ships with ease, earning his place among cinema's greatest legends. Yet Flynn's real life rivaled the drama of his role. Extravagance defined his existence. Lavish parties, luxury yachts, and relentless hedonism. His fortune was squandered on indulgence, compounded by tax evasion and legal trouble. A 1942 trial for statutory assault, though ending in acquittal, tarnished his reputation. By his death at 50 in 1959, Flynn was both physically and financially broken. His story remains a cautionary tale of the perils lurking behind the glitz of Hollywood. 9. Lou Costello. The comedic genius behind Abbott and Costello, Lou Costello delivered timeless laughs through routines like Who's On First? Born in New Jersey in 1906, Costello rose from burlesque stages to become a household name. Together with Bud Abbott, he dominated the comedy world of the 1940s, creating a legacy etched in film and radio history. But Costello's personal life was fraught with challenges. Poor investments and the stock market's volatility drained his wealth. The drowning of his infant son in 1943 shattered him, leaving scars no amount of laughter could mend. By his death from a heart attack in 1959, the fortune he had built had dwindled. His family's modest inheritance stood in stark contrast to the millions his talent had once earned. Costello's tale is a sobering reminder of life's fragility and the fleeting nature of fortune. 10. Veronica Lake. In the dazzling glare of Hollywood's golden era, Veronica Lake's signature peekaboo hairstyle and mesmerizing screen presence captured the world's imagination. Known for classics like This Gun for Hire and The Blue Dahlia, her rise seemed destined for eternity. Yet behind the silver screen, shadows crept in. Born in 1922 as Constance Frances Marie Ockelman, Lake's career began to falter as whispers of her difficult nature circulated. The late 40s marked her decline, fueled by struggles with mental health and alcohol. By the next decade, she was blacklisted, and the glitter of Hollywood turned to dust. Lake scraped by on odd jobs, far removed from her former grandeur. Her final days in a modest hotel, writing an autobiography to reclaim fragments of her lost glory, spoke of a world that had left her behind. She succumbed to hepatitis and kidney failure in 1973. Her fall remains a chilling testament to Hollywood's fleeting embrace. 11. Anna May Wong. Born Wong Liu-tsong in 1905 Los Angeles, Anna May Wong shattered barriers as Hollywood's first Asian American star. With grace and defiance, she claimed roles in The Thief of Baghdad and Shanghai Express. Her beauty and talent promised a legacy of triumph. Yet systemic racism shadowed her every step. Relegated to stereotypes or overlooked entirely, Wong was denied even the lead role in The Good Earth, a story of Chinese resilience. Turning to Europe, she found more respect, but the scars of rejection lingered. The 40s marked her career's decline. She sought solace in television and stage work, but faded from the spotlight. In 1961, she died of a heart attack at 56, her modest existence belying her trailblazing impact. 12. John Garfield. Brooding intensity lit up the screen in films like The Postman Always Rings Twice, through the talent of John Garfield. Born Jacob Julius Garfinkel in 1913, his gritty portrayals reflected a hardscrabble upbringing in New York's Lower East Side. Yet the Red Scare of the 50s turned triumph to tragedy. Accusations of communist sympathies, unfounded but damning, blacklisted him in Hollywood. Under relentless pressure, Garfield's health deteriorated. On a fateful May Day in 1952, his heart gave out. Only 39, he left behind a family and a legacy shattered by fear and betrayal. His tale endures as a stark reminder of how paranoia can destroy lives and careers. 13. George Raft. The quintessential gangster of Hollywood's golden age, George Raft embodied charisma and danger. Famous for roles in Scarface and Some Like It Hot, his connection to real-life underworld figures added an edge of authenticity. Born George Raft in 1901, he became a household name through his sharp performances and style. But behind the polished image, Raft's penchant for gambling unravelled his fortune. Lavish spending and ill-fated investments drained his wealth. As opportunities dwindled, Raft turned to smaller roles and public appearances to survive. By the end, he lived in relative obscurity, passing away in 1980 at 79. Raft's life is a haunting reminder that even towering stars can fall when fortune is squandered. 14. Barbara Payton. Beauty was both a blessing and a curse for Barbara Payton. Rising to fame in the late 40s, she captivated audiences in Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye alongside James Cagney. Yet her impulsive choices off-screen overshadowed her talent. A turbulent affair with actor Tom Neal culminated in a physical altercation that shattered her public image. Scandals spiraled into substance addiction, and Payton descended into poverty. By the end of her brief life, she lived in squalor, resorting to prostitution for survival. In 1967, at just 39, liver failure claimed her. Once a shining star, she became a stark warning of how quickly fame can dissolve into despair. 15. Mabel Normand. A trailblazer of the silent film era, Mabel Normand was a woman of charm and wit who helped define early Hollywood comedy. Born in Staten Island in the late 19th century, she first found her way into the spotlight as a model, her beauty capturing the attention of burgeoning filmmakers. Rising quickly, she became a muse to the legendary Mack Sennett, starring in countless slapstick comedies alongside icons like Charlie Chaplin and Roscoe Arbuckle. Her talent and humor made her a household name, and she shattered barriers as one of the first women to direct films in an industry that often sidelined them. But success had its shadows. Normand became entangled in scandals that would forever alter her life. Her name was linked to two infamous incidents: the mysterious death of director William Desmond Taylor and the shooting of millionaire Cortland S. Dines, both events swirling with intrigue and media frenzy. Though she was not directly implicated, these events tarnished her career. Adding to her struggles, substance dependency cast a long shadow over her life, dimming her once brilliant star. The final years were marked by illness and financial hardship. Tuberculosis claimed her life in the spring of 1930. At 37, her journey ended far too soon, leaving behind a legacy both luminous and tragic. Could the laughter she brought to millions outweigh the mysteries that engulfed her? 16. Gloria Grahame. The screen during Hollywood's noir heyday was lit up by Gloria Grahame, whose roles in films like The Big Heat and The Bad and the Beautiful immortalized her as one of cinema's great femme fatales. Born in the sunlit streets of Los Angeles, she became a fixture in shadowy tales of betrayal and desire. An Academy Award winner, her performances revealed layers of complexity, characters both vulnerable and dangerously alluring. Yet Graham's real life rivaled any film plot. Her private world was rife with controversy. 4 marriages filled tabloid headlines, but it was her union with her former stepson, Tony Ray, that cast a long, scandalous shadow. Hollywood, once enamored by her magnetism, began to turn its back. Her descent was slow but unrelenting. She turned to the stage, her efforts to reignite her star proving fruitless. As years passed, financial struggles and illness overtook her. Cancer waged a relentless battle against her body, and in 1981, at 57, she succumbed. Was the brilliance of her craft enough to eclipse the turbulence of her life? 17. Marie Dressler. Resilience defined the story of Marie Dressler, who spent decades labouring in vaudeville and minor film roles before achieving fame. Born in Ontario, her sharp comedic instincts were often overlooked until her 60s, when she became a box office sensation. Performances in Min and Bill and Dinner at 8 captured hearts, her warmth and humour offering comfort to audiences during the Great Depression, and proving that age could not dim talent. But Dressler's fame did not shield her from hardship. Much of her earnings supported her family, and the lavish lifestyle of Hollywood took its toll. When illness struck in the early 1930s, she continued working, determined to leave her mark. Cancer claimed her life in 1934, cutting short a career that had only just begun to bloom. Could the laughter she inspired resonate louder than the struggles she endured? 18. Jackie Coogan. Cherubic and endearing, Jackie Coogan graced the screen as one of Hollywood's first child stars, stealing hearts in Charlie Chaplin's The Kid. His youthful charm and emotional depth earned him wealth and fame. But behind the scenes, betrayal loomed. His parents, entrusted with his fortune, squandered it, leaving him penniless when he reached adulthood. Coogan's battle to reclaim his earnings became the catalyst for the California child actors bill, a law protecting young performers from similar exploitation. Though he returned to acting, most notably as Uncle Fester in the Addams Family television series, he lived modestly, his earlier wealth a distant memory. His legacy, a combination of unforgettable performances and legal reform, begs the question, does one's impact outweigh personal loss? 19. Harry Langdon. Harry Langdon's name stood proudly alongside silent film legends like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, his unique comedic style captivating audiences. Born in Iowa, he transitioned from vaudeville to film, with works like The Strong Man and Tramp, Tramp, Tramp showcasing his slower, more thoughtful approach to humour. A stark contrast to the frantic pace of slapstick. But Langdon's rise was fleeting. Taking creative control of his films led to a series of failures. As audience tastes shifted and talkies emerged, his career faltered. Financial missteps only compounded his troubles, forcing him into low-budget productions in his later years. In 1944, Langdon's life ended suddenly from a cerebral hemorrhage. Though his final years were marked by struggle, his influence on comedy endures. Did the quiet genius of his craft leave a louder echo than his struggles? 20. Barbara Marr. She was called the girl who is too beautiful, a name that seemed both a blessing and a curse. Born in the final decade of the 19th century, Barbara Marr lit up the silent film era with her striking beauty and unmatched allure. Her fame soared in the Roaring Twenties, with unforgettable roles in masterpieces like The Prisoner of Zenda and The Eternal City. She became a symbol of the decadent glamour of her time, adored by millions. But behind the glimmering facade, her life unravelled like a tragic screenplay. Barbara's world was a whirlwind of extravagant parties, tumultuous marriages, and relentless work schedules. Her lifestyle, indulgent and reckless, eroded her health. By her late 20s, her body was ravaged by tuberculosis and nephritis. Yet even as illness clawed at her, she refused to abandon her craft, working tirelessly until her strength gave out. In the winter of 1926, Barbara's life was snuffed out at the age of 29. She left behind a young son and a legacy tainted by sorrow. Her final days were not spent in the lavish comfort of stardom, but in financial struggle, a stark reminder of the fleeting nature of Hollywood's embrace. 21. Chester Morris. In the world of early sound cinema, Chester Morris was a magnetic force. Born at the dawn of the 20th century, he ascended to stardom with an Academy Award nomination for Alibi. His sharp features and undeniable charisma made him a natural fit for Hollywood, and his role as Boston Blackie in a popular film series secured his place in the pantheon of memorable screen icons. Fans flocked to see him transform from a jewel thief to a suave detective, captivated by his charm. But the golden era of Blackie could not last forever. As the 40s came to a close, Chester found himself adrift in an industry that had moved on. New faces emerged, and the roles that once came easily now eluded him. He sought refuge on television and the stage, but the limelight had dimmed. By the late 60s, Chester was a man overshadowed by his former glory. Financial woes plagued him. His fortunes dwindled by the lack of steady work. When he passed away in 1970, his death by overdose cast a somber shadow over his legacy. How does one recover from the cruel tides of fame's retreat? Chester's life remains a cautionary tale. 22. Franklin Pangborn. If the golden age of Hollywood had a master of comedic timing, it was Franklin Pangborn. Born in the late 1880s, he built his career playing high-strung clerks and exasperated assistants. His presence in films like My Man Godfrey and The Palm Beach Story brought an element of joy and levity, ensuring his face, if not his name, would never be forgotten by those who adored classic cinema. Yet for all his brilliance, Pangborn's career was one of limitation. Typecast and boxed into supporting roles, he could never break free into the realm of leading men. The financial rewards of character acting, while steady, were modest, leaving little to cushion the decline of his career as Hollywood's tastes evolved. When he passed in 1958, Franklin left behind little more than the fond memories of his work. His life, quiet and reserved, was a stark contrast to the riotous laughter he inspired on screen. What price does Hollywood exact from those who bring it? Its heartiest laughs. 23. Alan Mowbray. With his polished demeanour and aristocratic bearing, Alan Mowbray was a cornerstone of Hollywood's character actor ensemble. Born in London in the mid-1990s, he brought gravitas to over 150 films. From My Man Godfrey to Topper, his roles exuded a charm and professionalism that endeared him to audiences and directors alike. But even as a prolific actor, Mowbray's fortunes waned after the Second World War. The shifting tastes of post-war cinema left him scrambling for relevance. Though he found work in television, the income was never enough to match his earlier successes. Like so many others, he lived modestly, doing what he could to support his family. In 1969, Mowbray's life came to an end, his contributions to Hollywood largely overlooked. His story is one of quiet perseverance, a testament to the unsung roles that prop up the stars. Do we remember the scaffolding once the cathedral has been built? 24. Edith Fellows, a child of light and laughter. Edith Fellows charmed audiences as a darling of the silver screen during the 1930s. Films like Pennies from Heaven showcased her natural talent and youthful charm, earning her a place beside Hollywood's brightest stars. But as with so many child actors, her ascent was fleeting. As she grew older, the industry's adoration cooled, opportunities vanished, and the roles that had once seemed endless were no longer hers. By the 50s, she was a name remembered by few, her life a patchwork of personal struggles and financial hardship. In 1995, Edith passed away, her final years marked by poverty and obscurity. Her early career remains a bittersweet reminder of what once was. What happens to the dream when the applause fades and the lights dim? 25. Alyssa Landy. Born in the enchanting city of Venice in the early 20th century, Alyssa Landy was the embodiment of sophistication. Her performances in films like The Count of Monte Cristo and After the Thin Man captivated audiences, her elegance unmatched by many of her peers. But Hollywood is a place of mercurial affections. By the late 1930s, the roles began to dry up. The rise of younger stars and the decline of the old studio system left Alyssa stranded. Health problems soon compounded her challenges, forcing her to abandon acting for writing, where her earnings were meagre. In 1948, cancer claimed her life at the age of 43. Her end was a quiet one, far removed from the glamour she once epitomized. Alyssa's story is a poignant echo of the fragility of fame, a legacy as fleeting as the tides.